Hello, everybody, and this is the Playground Experience. Yay!
Yay!
We're at our new home. Hey, Mimi, and guess what? We got our own special guest here, Sean.
Woo! I feel a little bit overhyped. Like you kept like teasing this secret guest, but it's just little old me. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Well,
it's a little older than you.
what was Kathy saying earlier about imposter syndrome? You know,
Right,
um,
right.
surely you didn't mean me as like the secret special guest. You know?
Yeah. Well, anytime we can get a DM also slash divine feminine on the show, some male energy on here is always a special guest.
Fair enough. And we run so fast that you practically have to jump on our backs to catch.
Right, there you go. There you go.
We run so fast. Like,
Because those are the time I used to say, I got a live specimen here.
yeah, you guys are gonna have to like evolve and get some like tranquilizer darts or something. Like
Right.
little things, like like that'll make it faster.
That'll make it faster. Okay, all right. That's what we got to do. That's what you heard it here now, divine feminines. That's what we got to do with the divine mask.
Tranquilizer darts for the win.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, but no, it's always a treat to have you because you keep it real. You keep it 100 with us all the time. And you give us nuggets that we like from a different perspective because all of us coming from that estrogen. And it's always good to have that say, no, okay, we always talk about you and how you tell us to keep it. You overthinking, you overanalyzing, and that helps us to keep back on track. We're like, that's right. Said we doing too much.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I say so now that's why we said we gotta have. I said, let me start with you because again, since this is the month of May, and this is mental health awareness. And I was like, let me put people on here that's in there. I don't know if a lot of people know your background that you have that. I know they said, you're spiritual and you're the guru of all gurus there in the spiritual world there, but I don't think a lot of people know that you have, because I was like, nah, you didn't lay it on another layer on me. You look at this one, I was like, okay. But the people don't know that also that he is in the mental health, like a person like Clark Kent. He's Superman and Clark Kent, that too. That's right. And knowing that he does the mental health. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about your background with this your mental expertise that we don't know about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I'd always wanted to, even back when I was like picking college, like getting, going to college and that kind of thing. Feedback is coming through Kathy's screen.
Yeah, I got all.
Okay. All right. Okay. Even back when I was in, when I was like getting ready for college, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna double major in psychology and English, and the reason why is because like I wanted to know more about mental health and more about basically I kind of like I'm a first generation. I was a first generation college student, so like I didn't really have people who could help me, figure out what I was doing there. So when I'm signing up to be a psych major, I thought it was going to be like a lot like counseling, But I went to a really good and also very pretentious liberal arts school called William and Mary, and their psychology program had no counseling at all. It was just all research based. And so I was like, well, I guess I picked the wrong school for what I thought I was going to be doing. But instead of changing schools, because at that point I had lots of friends and stuff, I just was like, okay, well, I'm just going to change majors. So I didn't end up going through like the whole way with the psychology, but those little 16 credits that I got in psychology was enough for me to become what's called a QMHP, or a qualified mental health professional here in Virginia, which is kind of like a bachelor degree level, and we do what's called community-based mental health. And so like I am licensed by the State Board of Counseling, but it's for like I said, a bachelor degree level, so I can't do like independent practice or anything like that. and call it mental health, or I couldn't take health insurance with my own practice or anything like that. But I can do what's called community-based care. So generally speaking, community-based care is about keeping people in the community. It's about like the keeping people in the least restrictive environment. So the idea is that you're keeping people out of the hospital system and keeping people out of like long-term residential care. And so there are different service structures, and community-based mental health care is available in every state in the country, but it's configured differently in different states. So basically, what I do is it's Medicaid funded, but I work in a service structure called mental health skill building. So I actually go into the homes and into the community, and I help people who fit that demographic description of having had a history of hospitalization and requiring, according to the state anyway, or on paper anyway, they require medication to stay stable. And we're another service that they can utilize to basically prevent symptom relapse, prevent people from going back into the hospitals. So I've been doing this full time for like 10 years now. So it's really beefed up my coaching resume, because it's basically a coaching service, because you're identifying where the areas of need are for each individual, like what skills do they have with respect to symptom management and stability, and what skills do they lack, and then how do we then develop those skills so that they can remain independent and not have to go back into the system, basically.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful, Sean.
You guys are acting like you're just meeting me. You guys are, thank you. What? Like y'all knew I did this. What were you saying? I'm sorry. Y'all knew I did this.
We're all brand new. We're all brand new right now. Like, let's.
Yeah, we're all brand new in Christ.
There could be a whole new energy, a whole new field of people watching you and realizing that these services are out there and they need them. I mean, or that they know someone who needs them. So, mental health awareness month. We're reaching out. Yes, beautiful.
Yes. Well, thank you.
And we're here with a professional who understands the spiritual side of things. He also is a well-known and loved meditation teacher, and I was highly recommending him on our last episode, which was, there's a beautiful meditation in that, so go back and check it. Yes, you are amazing. And anyway, I can't say enough about this man.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, and we owe each other a co-healing date, so we need to make that happen this weekend sometime. This April. When I looked at, just so people know, when I look to the left, that's when I'm looking at my co-host, because like my computer's over here. So, but I'm trying to make sure to look at the camera when I'm talking.
And I can't see any of the questions at all, because I decided to do an update right now, and it said it would take 7 minutes. Wait, 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
So I don't know what the questions are. So.
Yeah, so how do you find
that
okay, go on. Sorry. Okay, you took a long pause. Go on.
Well, see, it's a beautiful thing to like reach out and ask for help. And I know that throughout this process, I've learned boundaries, and I've learned that when someone else doesn't have them, or when they're out of balance, and to be upfront with people. But my Libra moon makes me very sensitive to others, and in terms of what it is that they can hear it and make it palatable to understand that you're out of it right now. You need professional help. You know what I mean? As much as I help people and love them, I know when to say, hey, this is a serious matter, and this needs to be taken seriously by professionals who can help you. Because I used to feel some kind of way about medication and taking medications and different things like that. But I realized that I love to say, it takes several ways. You can get to the number 9 in several ways. So everybody's trying to reach that space within themselves. And if they don't have that coping mechanisms, or they have severe trauma that kind of keeps lapsing up in them, or, even to the point of severe mental illness, which I know a lot of people here in Hawaii, the homeless population is like risen dramatically simply because of what's happening with the pressures of mental illness, society. Now we're at war, you know what I mean? It's very interesting to see what's happening to all of us as we scramble to find some type of peace. And I'm finding like levels of addiction are going up, levels of even procrastination, which is like, you know, the extreme of like just an apathetic nature, like the fear of progress, right? That's what this whole war is. It's a level of progression, relieving ourselves of what no longer is, because we're fighting what they're fighting their grandfather's war. We're fighting our internal dialogue that we've been taught that was like the mental battlefield. And so as we come to our whole or more of our wholeness as individuals, we see that the spirituality is kicking in for a lot of people. They're starting to feel like they can tap between the veil. There's a lot of people that are trying to numb out and check back into that old paradigm that doesn't exist anymore, right? Since a lot of people are now being kind of split on what they're attempting to focus on. So instead of progressing in life, they're spinning wheels, letting themselves stay stagnant, or they are spending the time to pursue others. Even if they don't know exactly where they want to go, they're in a place of striving to become more. So all of these perceived pressures and what the ground is to stand on, it can become really confusing as to like, what's the next step? What's the next moment that we're going to choose?
Yeah.
Are we going to choose to be just present in it? Like this little wild boy who decides to be on the show. So like, in terms of someone tearing down my set, that really happened. Okay, so the man behind the curtain is you, right? Back to the inner dialogue, back to the balance, back to mental health and knowing where you stop and where somebody else begins and whether you can help them or not. And as empaths, we often feel like we want to help everyone or do everything and split the difference, but are we focusing on that inner light, that inner dialogue?
Or you use the term procrastination, and within the context of like an advanced soul, which everyone who's on this dialogue, this call is an advanced soul in the audience as well. So it's some of this stuff. It is your mental health symptoms at some point can become like an existential choice that contributes to that procrastination. Because when you become over-identified with your pain and with your trauma, and people use the term victim mentality these days, which is basically like an ego form that is built around staying overly attached to all those things. And when you're sort of like when you're still processing all of that, you can we sometimes what we do by trying to help other people or trying to help, shall we say, for lack of a better term, let's call it trying to help the wrong people. Then what that is actually an existential and a spiritual procrastination. It's like it's the fear of stillness. It's the fear of inner silence. It's the fear of peace. It's the fear of sleep. Even it's the fear of being healthy and aligned, because there actually is real ego death that comes as the price of alignment. Because there's a lot of false things that we have to let go of in order to be in our higher self. And as divine humans, we have to be connected in that way. Like we have to be integrated with our higher aspect to to be mentally healthy and to not have those sorts of symptoms. So I think to me the key word that you said there was procrastination, because it kind of ties it all together.
Oh, and you know, too, there's some people that find comfort in their pain because it is what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people that don't want to release that pain. They want it gone, but they don't want to do the work. And that's where they expect us in our field with coaching and things to have a magic wand and wave it around and make them all better, but they don't want to release that comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and as within, so without, and this is a can of worms to not. If we're going to stick to mental health, this is a can of worms not to be opened here. But in my class, my meditating on wisdom class this past Monday, our topic was as within, so without. And we were talking about that in reference to the political turmoil. And yes, I do agree that calling it like a fifth generational unrestricted irregular warfare accurately describes what's happening globally right now. So I agree with that moniker of like, yeah, this is basically a war, and that's getting hotter, you know. So with the political turmoil, with the fears associated with the pandemic, you know, whatever conclusions we come to about what the pandemic actually is and actually is not, all that stuff, it is very important at this time to understand what that's doing to all of us, and to sort of like respond accordingly. But as I was telling my students, your sense of safety will never come from the outside. You know, your sense of safety is not going to come from this political regime being in charge versus that one. It's not going to come from the vaccine. You know, it's not going to come from having someone having a partner, you know, next to you who's not the right person, you know, who's just there for to give you the illusion of safety, you know, the illusion of security, you know. It's always an inside job, and your safety really comes from being so deeply integrated with that higher aspect that that you know what sort of protection is sustaining you, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting that you kind of talked upon what I've been seeing in this last reading with the divine feminine energies, with the role of the victim and all those things in which we got to heal spiritually. And you talked about it also, how the divine masculine energies and the divine feminine energies together have to work at being able to kind of get over that, because there's some kind of aspect in the divine feminine energies that is holding on to this and does not want to let it go, because it's something really strongly rooted into the identity of them, and they don't know as far as what they're going to do next without that identity, about what you just talked about earlier. So I'm so glad to hear you touch upon that, because again, that is also affecting mentally what we're talking about, and as far as us being able to be strengthened. So again, let's curtail and get into, and that's going also about that feeding into this imposter central thing, which is, I had not heard of it actually. I'm not going to do like they do on Facebook. I was today years old when I found out what imposter syndrome was. It wasn't today, but I'll be honest, I think it was one of the shows, and April had mentioned it. And I was like, I've never heard of that before. Imposter? Okay, I know what that is. And it's so interesting now, even in the games. I don't know if you all are into it, because I know my kids tell me all the time. They got this game called Among Us. It's a video game, and they got the imposter on there. And, you know, the kids, you know, it's this thing. It's interesting how in the 3D world is getting reflected. Also, they're telling us about this, like, you know, kind of pay attention. I look for trends and patterns, which is again how we're walking around here and being imposters in our own world in the 3D. And I think that's an interesting thing, that the world and universe is now bringing on that focus now. They're saying some of us are walking around and not being our truest form of ourselves. Some of us are walking around and dimming our light to say that we're not being as divine as we are, or the opposite. we are divine, but we don't believe it. And then when we try to push ourselves into that gear, it's like, oh no, I don't know. That's I'm faking it. I'm not spiritually, no one's talking to me and giving me these messages like that. That's a lie. Like when I read the cards, no, it's no way I'm getting these messages. I'm making this stuff up, and I know other people are looking at me and believing the same thing too. So that's in some ways how that imposter syndrome kind of shows up. So I'm gonna ask you from your medical, it might not be even medical, but whatever, from the mental thing, what is imposter syndrome? And then everybody can kind of go around and say what is. I gave an example, not a definition, but give it to us so we know in case somebody is today years old about what imposter syndrome actually is.
Well, I think as well, you glossed over something that was very important that kind of connects to the mental health side of it. So I'd like to address that as well. And then,
okay, that's fine.
And then, because I watched your video from last night where you were talking about how you were getting a clarity that it actually is the feminine energy that's holding the union back right now.
Right.
And that's I'm glad to see that the feminines are getting that level of guidance, because that is a level up in the type of guidance that you're getting and the type of guidance that, like, hopefully, usually these things kind of cycle together. So I think we'll probably see more people have that light bulb moment. And what, in my experience in community, working in mental health, and it is healthcare. Yeah, we're Medicaid funded, so I am a healthcare professional. There's kind of a difference in the way that that women do things and the way that men do things in terms of their healing process. And if I were to sort of like really summarize it and boil it down, I think in terms of sex, because if you look at the way that men have sex, right? It's kind of like boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'm done. Like it's that kind of thing. And but if you look at
See, keep it 100. What is this? We're twin souls in the nowhere. I keep it 100. That's it. I like it. I love it. Keep it going.
But think about how women like to do things. Like think about like if you were to like digitally stimulate your female partner. It's a slow circular thing. Like they like to touch every fold that has to get touched, right? I mean, correct me when I'm wrong, because this is not an area of expertise of mine. But
yes. Take your time, darling. Take your time.
Well, at first, it depends. It depends.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I just want to say, yeah, that's true. It's children in the car, I forgot. But yeah.
Okay. Well, keeping with the flow of the metaphor,
right.
Healing works the same way, right? So like men take forever to realize that they have a problem, and they may procrastinate a specific thing. Like they may like say, okay, I know that I got to work on that eventually, but I'm going to push that back a while, But once a male decides to fix the problem, it's bam, 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 bam.
That's true.
That's true. But with women, they realize the problems earlier. Typically speaking, not always, but typically speaking, they realize they need the help earlier. But it's the slowly circle around every single fold, every single crevice of the vulva. Don't forget the clitoris. And it's like you guys have to touch every single gradient of every single issue. Like you have to like be in every single little I think of it in terms of colors, right? If you give me the six colors of the kindergarten rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, I'm good, right? That's those are the steps to my success. But like women, you guys more so want the 96 colors.
Right, I'm about to say the 64, but okay,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, 90. Yeah, I think it's more like 96, really.
Yeah, it is. It's 64.
I think it's more. It's like you have to examine every single issue from every single conceivable angle. Do you know what I mean? And you have to go through all those little crevices and all those little detail works. And I'm not saying this with judgment, because I think that there's merits to both methods. You know, so I'm not saying that there needs to be anything that needs to change there. You know. But I do agree, and this is something David and I talk about a lot too. That it's a lot of times it is more so the feminine consciousness that's holding the process back, but there's also this habit of projecting it onto the male. You know, so like it's like I'm holding us back, but I'm blaming you for it. You know, it's that kind of thing. And it's not that we're ever not the one. Sometimes we are, but I mean, think of it this way. You know, no matter what, I'm either going to be on red, orange, yellow, green, blue, or purple. You know what I'm saying? And it's not going to be hard for you to see which one I'm on. You know, but you know, if you're jumping from lilac to periwinkle to jade to, you know what I mean, to charcoal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like that's like kind of like a difference between. So it's just a difference in the way of going about things. But I'm really glad to see that type of an awareness breakthrough on the feminine side, because that suggests to me that we're about to get rocking and rolling, really. You know, so so I wanted to put that out there. Oh, Kathy, did you have a comment to that?
Well, I was just going to say, I think what we're really starting to see too is the balance between that. As we find the balance between our male and feminine energy, we're finding that balance between being able to make a decision without all the information and going with our instinct. And I'm seeing it with males that are not, you know, just off the top of their head. They're finding out a little more information, but trusting that instinct. And we're finding that balance of not having to spend, you know, 16 years on something to find out, you know, all the information. And that's, you know, truly, that's so many of the wealthiest people in the world. That's how they made their money, knowing they were going to make a mistake, but not waiting around to have all of the information, just having enough to go with a gut feeling and then moving on. And that works so much in so many different areas, not just finance.
True.
But even relationships, think about it. 9 times out of 10, you have a pretty good gut feeling about somebody, either, if not first meeting, second, and by third, you definitely have an opinion made. And then at that point, that's where you should trust it. Yes. You don't just keep going and trying to get all the information. Yeah. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that balancing out, if people will allow themselves to. Right. And they let their why be bigger than their fear.
Right. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. It's there's a diving that needs to happen. What are you talking, Regina?
Hold on a second. Okay, I got her. Go on, Sean. I got her.
Okay. Well, no. Yeah. So no, I agree, and it kind of like that what Kathy just said connects to the imposter syndrome concept. You know, because it's like when you do, like, for example, when people make that choice to be with the karmic partner, you know, like that's sort of like to go back to what April says, that's a procrastination, you know, because you know it's going to, you're procrastinating your process of becoming more divine, really. And that, I think for some people that may be rooted in that imposter syndrome, you know, and you do see this dynamic. You know, I think that I mean, imposter syndrome is more pop psychology than it is like a clinical diagnosis, you know. Okay. But I think that you kind of describe both sides of the sword there. Typically speaking, we talk about imposter syndrome in terms of success, you know, so when someone achieves a level of success, they feel like that they maybe don't deserve it. And if they have other issues, then they might sabotage it even because, you know, subconsciously they don't feel right within that, you know. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like that's the most typical context, but I'm glad that you talked about it in terms of like the way that we as whatever you want to call it, like light workers or like divine people or earth angels or whatever. Whatever the thing that the presence and the awareness that we walk around with kind of makes it feel a little bit like it's being an imposter to be human or be in like these sort of like grounded circumstances, you know. And for me, I guess the way that manifested for a long time was feeling that just feeling like a fish out of water, just feeling like feeling weighted down by my environment, kind of like that. And I had to like grow into a process of karma clearing to understand why I was recreating the same circumstances and whatnot. So I would still say that there is a way in which I'm sort of moving toward things that fit me better as a person in terms of like what I'm supposed to be doing, like having a certain level of creative satisfaction, et cetera, et cetera. But I had to, along the journey, learn how to integrate my authenticity through the day to day. So like that does connect with boundaries and communication, and also kind of like knowing where people's levels are and saying, okay, this is the degree to which I can be authentic with this person. This is the degree to which I can be authentic to this person. And it's not my job to educate everyone about what I know, because a lot of people aren't really built to understand it anyway. So it's kind of like you just have to, at some point, make a decision to sort of like feel integrated. So because the external environment hasn't really changed all that much, you know, from like where I was 8 years ago when I was sort of feeling inauthentic, you know. What's changed is the inside and how I interact with my environment has enabled me to feel authentic. So it's been one part finding some community that you can talk to in a very straightforward, natural way, and kind of like, you know, have a sense of belonging, you know, which as advanced souls and as twin flames, it's a global community, so we have to find ourselves scattered in the different corners. But then it was also one part just sort of knowing how to say things, you know, like just saying things in a way that that is authentic to yourself. And if you know that someone can't understand it, then you say it in a way that does not invite further discussion. And if you think that someone that you can't actually help to wake someone up, then you might say it in a way that gives that person the option of pursuing further discussion about it. You know, but you just learn how to never say things in a way that takes you off of your center, I guess, with respect to that process. You know. And as far as the success thing, I do think that maybe some divine feminines are more so experiencing that imposter syndrome when they level up, you know, so like they level up into a new level of power or whatever. And that might say, okay, this doesn't feel quite right yet, let me go back down or whatever. And that's an interesting way to think about it, like what compels that individual. And it won't always be divine feminines, but what compels someone to, you reach another level and then you retreat back downward because like that was your comfort zone and that's what feels real to you. You know, I think we can all relate to that on some level, but it seems that, like in my experience, it seems that a lot of times it's like the feminines want to be leveling up faster than what they are, and so I think that contributes to the imposter syndrome.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like they want to be, it's like they're in a hurry to level up sometimes. So like it kind of like they want it too hard, and because they want it too hard, when they get there, it freaks them out, you know? Mm-hmm. And then but for me, you know, men like to sort of like stay rolling down in the mud, so to speak, you know? And so like for me, it's like, well, I've got about 3 more mud puddles that I got to jump in, and then I might consider coming in for dinner after that, you know. But like okay. I gotta, but the next thing on my plate is like that mud puddle and that mud puddle and that mud puddle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's more like I feel my truth is being of both sides. Like my truth is touching my divinity and touching the planet. You know, okay. And so it's kind of like. I don't experience that same type of imposter syndrome of the level up, in other words, but mainly because like I don't try to level up before I'm ready, you know?
Right. But you know, I think also when we're talking about this mission and the twin flame journey thing, a lot of us feel that imposter syndrome really comes in strong when we're pushed into, like, spirit is saying, go and do this. And you're like, wait a second, I ain't qualified for this. I need a degree for this. And you telling me, and then when I get into it, that's when that kicks in real strong. They don't know. So like I would say, even I know with me, I guess I had it maybe twice, maybe it came up. I was called to be a teacher. I was not. I was supposed to be a fashion designer. I got pushed into the arena of being a teacher because it was just going too slow. And then when I got into there, my credentials were asked upon because I didn't have a degree about it, but I knew that I could teach. I knew I had something that I wanted to give the kids in a different way. And so you do ask yourself, even in the material or the 3D world, you know, am I qualified? When you know that it's source that puts you in that position. Same thing like this. Okay, YouTube. Okay, I'm not known. When I was in high school, I was known for one word sentences. That was my thing. Spirit's like, I want you to do the channel. I'm looking, I'm getting inspired. I'm like, I can do that. Okay, now I do a YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if these people believe me. You know, this is out of my comfort zone. This is not, and like, okay, now I'm doing readings. Are people believing in me? That I can understand how that, again, imposter syndrome would pop up in a lot of people because, again, you like sources pushing us into areas that we like, hey, I ain't qualified. If people really test my spiritual gangster, they might see that my spiritual cred need to be snatched away because they don't know how I even got to this point. So a lot of us, I think that with this new thing, and it really gets tested for us to really know about what we are really spiritually equipped for. And that's when that imposter syndrome gets pushed out there because, again, maybe we might look for outward validation, you know, maybe subscribers, or maybe somebody might be looking about, you know, when I give readings, are they really truly believing in me? Or whatever it is that I'm being called, I'm talking to people about things that I feel very passionate, and I know Spirit had channeled me this message. Are they really understanding? So I think even writing a book, I can hear a lot of people say, I do writing, I do poems, those things. And, you know, and then if they really knew my background, they're like, why am I listening to you? Because, you know, so that's where, to me, I guess a lot of times, this is where a good possibility that imposter syndromes could be born within the spiritual community with that. And so that is something that we have to address, that, again, we don't have to look for, going back to what Sean's saying, outside credibility or people validating who we are and what we're doing, because if source puts that there, and if you find ways in which you are being spiritually blessed or abundant with that, and you know, and even if it's just one person giving you feedback saying it's great job, or it's two people telling you it's great job, then you're doing what source is telling you. And you shouldn't reflect back to yourself that you're saying, I'm being an imposter. Because I've got a lot of clients that talk to me and say that, and that I just don't know. I want to do it right. I want to be very perfect in the way I'm doing it. They want to do what I'm doing. And it's like, I just don't know. And I feel like I'm an imposter. So a lot of that comes up. So what would you tell a person that's saying, you know what, Spirit is telling me to do this, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I got enough knowledge base on this stuff, but I know that I'm supposed to be doing
it. Are you asking me? Because I kind of feel like I need to hear from the other co-hosts, because I kind of think
no, when I walk, I like to forget.
As I sit in the Chick-fil-A drive-through.
I feel like this is almost more of a problem that affects women, truth be told.
You don't think
it's a lot of it is. A lot of it stems from our inner child wounds.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing you talking.
Okay. A lot of it is stemming from our inner child wounds, because we're taking those voices. We get to that point of success where we've mastered something and we've acknowledged that we're good at something. And now we're hearing all of those voices in our heads, you're not smart enough. This is the one thing as a teacher you really have to be careful about, is those kids that you tell them they're not smart, they can't do this. And there are so many times there are people that have been told that go on to be, a New York Times bestseller, that when they've told they are not able to write and they're not able to do this, but those voices are coming up, in your head, and you're hearing all of this negativity, and that's where you question your mission, you question your relationships, you question just your ability to actually do things. And that's where that imposter syndrome comes up. And Sean's right, it really affects women more than men, because we then also have that whole idea of, we're just supposed to be a wife, we're just supposed to be a mother, that's just all we're supposed to be, we're not supposed to go out and take on the world. And if you do go out and take on the world in business or something like that, you're not supposed to be a wife, and you're not supposed to be a mother. And there are all of these boundaries put on you. And we have to kind of break through those with the imposter syndrome. The where men have the biggest time with imposter syndrome is in business, especially in sales and things like that. They hit so high, or they're really good at sales, and now they have to change up their ways, to keep making that success. And they question their ability to do it. They question their ability to keep making those sales. And then they're worried about, well, if I don't keep making the sales, am I going to lose my job? What if I make all these sales, then what are they going to expect of me? So sometimes it's an inner dialogue, sometimes it's inner child wounds, but the imposter syndrome affects so many different ways that we function on an everyday basis.
So I like to think of it as doing it anyway, right? Because no matter what's happening, you are not in the past, you're not in a deemed perceived future, you're in the now. So if you're taking the steps, however they may be, small, large, whatever, you're taking them. And if you're breathing into it, like I had to take a moment to go over some data I'm putting together for the 14-day class, or the mini master class I put together, and frequency, vibration. And that's one of the Sean's secret talents. He makes the tracks, by the way. He makes his meditation music on his tracks, so don't forget to check that out afterward on Ectropic Esoterica. Anyway, frequency. Getting into the frequency. If you fully want what you are attempting to attract, and there's a gap, that means that you're not in the vibration or the frequency of that which you desire. And as long as you are stepping toward that frequency, or living in those moments of joy and peace, so instead of going down the rabbit hole of the self-deprecation, which leads to more procrastination, which puts you more and further off of AKA mission, right? Because part of your mission is...
I get something?
The hard, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Whatever you have deemed as the hard part of your human experience that you're avoiding is the part you should definitely dive into. So the part where you're procrastinating the most is most likely going to give you the most fruitfulness. Now, I'm not saying you need to drop everything and, quit your job and change your career and XYZ. What I am saying is have more patience with yourself. Continue to keep going and mapping out, feeling confident in your steps. And sometimes even when you don't feel confident, making that move anyway, because it can be corrected. And then the reality of the situation is nothing is perfect, and there's beauty in that, right? Because if everything were exactly the same, we wouldn't notice it or see it within that pattern we call the matrix or the veil, right? Because all it's doing for you right now is, I'm going to separate myself from everything. I don't belong. I feel awkward. And then you want to put yourself back in as this whole matriarch of whatever it is that you've created or birthed. But there's steps along the way. There's collaborations along the way. There's all this relationship that's happening with you within yourself, you with your environment, and you with the divine, creating this art, this tapestry of life, this music, this vibration. So if you're feeling like you are not in the right space or doing the right thing, take a deep breath, right? Because we always love the breath, because that's the easiest tool to work to help change the vibration of the body, to help change the heartbeat, to help relax the mind, right? So here we go. I'm feeling it right now. Everybody, we're gonna do a little meditation together. Let's just take a couple breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Nose or mouth, your choice. Take a deep breath in. Is it hard for you to breathe in and out? Is there any place that you're holding breath? Now breathe in, fill up the belly first, and then the upper chest. And like a wave, let it go and breathe it out. Collapsing the belly, collapsing the chest. Breathing out every piece of oxygen that you can. And breathe in again. Filling the belly, filling the chest. Allow your third eye to just open. I see the crowns opening. I see the stepping into body, into balance. Finding our own individual rhythm with the breath. Realizing that our body has space and our body has value. Our body has time and our time has value. We are timeless, yet we are time. We are divine, masculine, feminine, balance, without, within. Okay, so awaken to this space right now. And if you are feeling that you are having any type of resistance, just explore that resistance. Resistance meaning self-doubt, judgment, or even if it's, yes, I feel good in this moment. Yes, I feel good in my skin and my body. And allow for more spaces of reflection of your perfection. Okay. That's just a couple breaths just to kind of feel. I felt like all the frazzle in all the world. And that's part of what I really love about masculine energy is its ability to know that there is a forest for the trees, but you keep chopping because you know you're building a specific way. You're building a passageway that you can go back to it. Whereas the feminist's like, are we doing the right path? Should I measure it a little bit more? Maybe I can plant some flowers over here on the side. Right? It's like, honey, let's build the road first, then we can go back and decorate it. Okay?
Yeah.
But that's it. It's a matter of getting past feeling like, because okay, it's rare, but it's possible that you're on the very first person forefront of doing something. Like a creator of an invention, you're making water cars, like massive or something like that. But odds are pretty good that someone has been in some of the shoes that you've been in. Someone's created some space. And looking at these other men and women in these fields that you're focusing in on, or that have gotten to a state in life where you want to be, and taking them as a role model and as an example of things you can either do or not do, right? And then saying, well, what best fits me, right? Recategorizing that difference between where you are and where you want to be could help you let go of imposter syndrome, because everyone has to have their first speech. Everyone has to have their first presentation of themselves. Everyone has to say what they do sometimes, right? Even sometimes on the spot. But being able to constantly reframe when you've been given, let's say, trauma glasses, right? Inner childhood wounding, past experiences, you can then say, hey, this is now, and how am I going to make this moment the richest? How do I get to share? Because there's so much to value in life, and your individual gifts, wherever you are and however you do what you is that you do, is so important, especially if we do it with joy and kindness and gratitude in our hearts. So if I can circle it back around to just being grateful for the opportunity to be on this sometimes pulling out my own hair twin flame journey. But only the good hairs, just saying.
Okay. Like, where the positivity at? Okay, in that state. Okay.
Well, there's passion, there's beauty, there's joy, there's like,
Right.
you know, as frustrating as it can be from time to time. Yes, yes.
Now. I ain't claiming that.
Hey, you don't know how I like it. Don't judge me. Back to Freaky Friday. How do we like it?
Yes. You can pull my head in. All right. Yeah. Pull my head, Daddy. I'm not with it. Okay. All right. I regress. Let me pull myself together.
That's so funny. You hear that? I hear she thinks my tractor's sexy.
Okay, I gotta come back. I'm really in the playground now. Experience.
But, y'all lost me a little while ago. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, you know how girls do. They just keep giggling until things
yeah,
make
she's
sense
talking about
again.
pulling the hair stuff. That experience over there. I told her, yeah, she wasn't talking positive. She like this whole journey pulling my hair, and I was like, wait a second. So then that's why she was saying about, well, wait a second. There's other aspects of how pulling the hair can be positive.
It takes several ways to get to the number 9, and hopefully they're all enjoyable.
Yes. But that's good advice, especially when we're talking about like, doing that. I think that also the imposter syndrome can pop up in the relationships too. I was thinking about, I don't know, well, maybe you could say if it is or not, yay and nay. But I was watching last night, it's called Misfits, and it's like a spinoff from Married at First Sight. And these are people that cannot match them up with anybody. And so they had a guy on there, and he invented his alter ego as the legend. And so this legend is supposed to be this guy that's like all in. He makes the girls laugh. He flirts with them. He's all on 10. I mean, everything that he is, he's like the it guy. And so they had him put on this costume like he was Superman with the L on it, say legend. And this lady told him, go out there and talk to all the ladies with this costume on. And he was trying to still be himself with that. And someone was like, I'm good. You can just fly away with you in that costume. I don't need you talking to me. Bye. And so he got the rejection each time. And so when he came back to the psychologist, she's like, well, how did that activity feel? And he was like, I ain't really like it. She said, now you can see that all the time. You can't be legend all the time. Sometimes you got to be Brandon. And that was his name. And so she's like, let's take this costume, let's burn it, and now let's approach the young ladies as Brandon. And he was like, I don't know how to be Brandon. He was honestly confused at that time. He didn't know how to be himself without adding on that alter ego legend. And he said if he didn't know how to be able to interact with the ladies, he just didn't feel like he was really being himself, but really actually being Brandon was actually being himself. Is that also a form of being imposter syndrome too as well, where you have now invented this alter ego, but you're not being your true self in relationships as far as who you are, rather it's in relationships or in the family, you find yourself kind of answering to the way family think you're supposed to, but you're not being yourself as well. You're not being authentic in some ways, or that's kind of like a flip-flop or something else. Is there another aspect to imposter syndrome like that can happen? Or is that just you just not being your authentic self?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, so that what you described there, it was probably an identity deferment issue that may stem from something that you might call something to the effect of like a borderline personality disorder. Like if you feel, there are people who are walking around who feel like a void, you know, like they feel like they don't have a self. And yes, as you said, sometimes the world has a way, especially with men, because men are just looked at as by most of the world, by most of society, as just slaves. You know, like men are good for what they can do. You know, men are good for like what they can do in terms of like provision, protection, that kind of thing. So if someone, who's laughing? Why are people laughing?
Laughing at Kathy D because she was going off, but it looked like it was like she was going off on you at the same time. So we straight.
Oh, okay.
It was very odd. Like spiritually, something like the divine feminine was going off on the divine mask. Like, that's right, be your true self. She's doing all that in the background. We're straight. Go on.
Okay. Yeah. And so, so that, it sounds like that's what was going on with Brandon, and maybe he doesn't have a concept of himself to cling to, or maybe it is that because he feels like a void there, like he would project something that he feels is attractive, you know, which is a typical borderline thing as well, because that symptom, that diagnosis is really characterized by a crippling and obsessive fear of abandonment that then translates into manipulative behavior. So Brandon was being manipulative there. So I would say it's more when you're choosing to be an imposter. It's more like the diagnosis that corresponds to that would more so be like narcissism or antisocial sociopathy, basically, or what clinically is called antisocial personality disorder. There's background noise. I think it's coming from me.
Much worse. It's much worse if you're faking it. So the lesson of Friday is don't fake it, people. Don't fake it. Be yourself. Always be yourself.
Well, I wanted to experience popularity when I was in college, so I kind of did that. I projected a false self for a period of time as well. So I kind of know. I wanted to experience because I was a nerd. I was a nerd in high school, and I wanted to experience popularity, and I found that it requires like a hollowing out. You know, like it requires like when you sort of like fabricate a self, you know, like it's sort of, and you have to sustain it for a period of time. Like it has this like hollowing out effect that kind of like really takes you off. And so, yeah, at the end of that process, I did feel like an imposter because I had to like come back to myself and like reintroduce myself to people as myself, if that makes sense, you know?
Yes, I do.
And accept people, accept that not everyone's going to relate to that, accept that kind of like involves people falling away and that kind of thing. But I really wanted to, you know, the last time April was talking, she really brought up some good points about like process. Somebody's typing and it's bugging me or something.
Amy, I ain't talking nothing.
Okay.
Okay. I put you on mute now. That might be earrings or something from April from the
Okay.
I got you.
But yeah. So but what and she was talking about like being present in the process and that kind of thing, and that kind of like helps you to whatever. And I would say one of the reasons why I don't experience imposter syndrome is that I definitely embrace the slow build process, the slow build of things, and going with like the immediate inspiration and allowing things to kind of like fall into place, you know. So like to borrow some terms from performance art and from theater, from like the creative side of my identity, there's this saying that you embrace the process, not the product, you know. So I think that like feeling like an imposter is maybe for some people it's the result of being in process but wanting to already be the product, you know. Like it's kind of like you want to like it's no such thing as, to me it's like you are becoming you become things by doing them, you know. Like you learn things by doing them. And so like I think that for me it was a process. It was finding the joy of the process, you know, because I am a perfectionist, but I'm not like neurotically perfectionistic. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. And what the difference is now, like it's like I take pleasure in the process of perfectionism. You know, like I like being like a detail person, and I like ironing out all the wrinkles and the details, and then you learn how to do it in a way that's not self-hating. So it's like
Yeah.
you don't like stay up all night to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if it doesn't get done, you put it aside and then you pick it back up when it circles back around. You know, so it's kind of like embracing like a multi-dimensional way of doing things. You know, like you have to like as we merge with our twins, it's always this navigating of the multi-dimensional and the linear. You know, sometimes you need the linear toolbox, sometimes you need the multi-dimensional toolbox, and you just kind of have to increasingly learn how to both integrate those toolboxes and learn how to switch between them when it's time to switch between them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So just finding pleasure in the process of becoming everything that you are, because you know at the core we are everything, you know. So we're always kind of imposters, you know, when we're pretending to be like a limited fractal of existence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like imposter syndrome is really there's a deeper truth there that we are all infinite potential, you know. And it's sort of like, why wouldn't you be able to do all that? You know, anything that you're not currently able to do, your higher self can download it into you, you know. And as you kind of embrace that part of the process as well, you kind of understand this infinite potential thing means that you get to decide what to be. And when you decide who you are, and you take steps to being who you decide to be, then you can't really ever really be an imposter. You know, like you're just your infinite consciousness in a process of continuously molding and remolding and shaping and reshaping and defining and redefining itself. You know.
Right. And I was saying, I'd like to piggyback on that, is a lot of times for that person or the clients that I've had come to me about that. A lot of times when you don't know about things like that, that's where you have your guidance team where they kick in, and you just simply say, hey, I don't know, I need help. Bring me the information that I need for this to fill in the gap parts that I'm saying that I'm weak in. And the universe will bring you. It'll come up on the YouTube something. It'll come up and say, oh, that's the answer that I needed. It'll come up with a conversation or something like that. I know that also Sean always said, you know, I remember he said, ask your higher self to, you know, to help out and give you the answers like that. Ask it to drop down to give you that. And that's always a way that you can be able to plug in. You got an infinite resources that can be used, especially if source has put you in there. They're not going to put you in a position that they're not going to fully prep you and prepare you for. Even if you don't know it, you just stop and you ask your angels, your guides, whomever, to step in to give you that information. And at that point, you should not feel like, hey, I'm just being thrown out there with no safety net. And now it truly feeds into that dialogue of your ego saying, what are you doing? What were you thinking being out here? It taps into that childhood wound, and it taps into all that stuff and that chatter that's going on. I know definitely is people that have overactive mind, which I've gotten more control over because I just got sick and tired of the dialogue. I just shut up. That's enough. It's not helping me. It's affecting me until I can progress and move forward with that. And so you have to get to that point where you really have to get take the bull by the horns or get in control of that so that you can truly be able to ascend and just be okay with it. And sometimes, hey, you know, and I did that on my podcast, shameless plug, about being okay with the great. It's okay if you don't have the answers to some of that stuff, because again, maybe it's not time for it. Maybe you don't process it at that time, and it's just not time for you to act upon that. And so it will be a time in which it will present itself. And it's okay when you don't know. I think we pressurize ourselves and we put extra pressure on ourselves that's not needed to. Because like you say about the perfection, not having the answers, sometimes you're in a great period for a reason, because maybe the spirit is saying it's just not time yet when you're doing things. Yes, April. Oh, I thought you wanted to chime in.
I do. But Kathy D does too, and she's driving, which is much more complicated.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you feel like you are stuck in a paradigm, you can do visual exercises to get yourself in the emotional state of readiness and then therefore openness towards that situation. You can, since Kathy's a little busy, you can actually journal out and write out what you would like to happen, and then that also helps commune with the universe so that you guys can co-create your experience you're manifesting. But one of the key things is allowing yourself to have it, knowing that you feel worthy of it, and then letting go of the actual attachment of it, right? Because when you want something so bad, it actually can repel it away from you. So there's a balance that you will find for yourself on how to do that. And the main thing I really think is great about, because when my masculine kicks in, it makes me disciplined, which means I will chop wood, carry water. I may not need that water right now, or I may not need that wood right now, but I chop that up because I know that I'm going to need it for the winter, which means I'm going to set forth taking those steps, signing up for those courses, eating properly now so that in 6 months from now, I'm going to have a whole new frame and a whole new buildup. So you have to take the disciplinary steps to kind of nudge yourself towards your actual goal. There is some stuff where it's like, yes, I can depend and trust the universe, but I also need to act and make the right decisions to lead me to attain that particular goal or manifestation. If you're doing the best to make yourself feel better, let's say you're giving yourself positive mantra and so on and so forth, but you're not actively letting the universe provide for you in a way, then how are you going to be able to? Okay, so for example, my basic example is someone opening the door for you, right? There's a difference between, oh, no, you go ahead, right? And yes, I want someone to open a door for me. I know I'm provided for. The doors are always open for me. I'm stepping through. So what I mean is you have two different ways of thinking about your relationship. Well, there's more than two, but we'll just say for argument's sake, or not argument's sake, but discussion's sake, there's two right now. You're either going to let the universe continue to show you how to receive that love, or you're going to say, oh, no, 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 I'm going to wait, or I'm not good enough for this experience, or I'm going to let it pass me by. Even though that small step of letting that person open the door for you and accepting that like grace of ease into the next position you're in is pushing that energy of the mate that you want that will do something similar in terms of the energies, right? You need to be able to accept the masculine side of yourself. You need to be able to receive that as well as understand it within yourself to take those steps towards your goal, which is always like healthier, more conscious, like way of being.
Kathy D, are you available? What's she say? Kathy D?
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to order Chick-fil-A and everything else at once.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of piggyback onto what you were saying, Divine, that about calling in the angels and letting the universe come in and work on things. You know, there's you can also go into a meditative state and do journaling, and that is called automatic writing. And a lot of times you can get a lot of answers that way for things, but only, like you said, when it's time, when you're ready for that information. It's not just going to divulge everything you've ever needed to know.
Is it true? Got notification. So that's the divine truth that you just said.
Yeah. So, but automatic writing, when you really feel stuck and you really feel that there's no way out, you can't seem to enjoy the view where you are. That's when to use the automatic writing and tap into your subconscious, tap into your higher self, however you need to, but that will open up and enlighten you with many ways, and be able to call in your angels and things like that.
Yes. Okie dokie. Very good. So as we finalize and we start wrapping up our first episode on the Playground channel. So what is some lasting thoughts or anything that you want to tell people about this imposter syndrome that maybe you say, hey, we haven't covered, but I want them to walk away knowing this? Who's that? Oh, okay. Want them to walk away with that. Is there anything that you say, you know what? If nothing else, if you just get this message, you should be able to conquer that imposter syndrome. Yes.
You've always you've got to make why you're doing it bigger than your fear.
Okay.
You've got to take those voices, and you have to make sure that you have a very clear idea of what you want and where you want your life to go. And that goes into the manifesting and visualizing things and really bringing it to fruition with a really strong and clear picture and emotion that will kind of calm those voices and those feelings down on the imposter syndrome. But your why has to be bigger than your fear.
Okay. All right. April, did you want to add anything?
In terms of imposter syndrome, there's a reason. This is just a side note. There's a reason that this is now a trending topic or a trending word. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Society and the world that you have been built in wants you to doubt yourself, wants you to think that you don't have as much power than you do. And when you own how special you are, that they created an entire system to confuse you from your own power, you realize there's no way that you could actually be an imposter of yourself, but then you have to be yourself. So find out who you are, find out where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, so that when someone points out a weakness, you say, I know, I'm working on that. Right? But you do it anyway. You do it anyway. Yes. That's my advice for the imposter syndrome.
Okay. Beautiful.
Well, that and you know, everybody starts somewhere. The difference
True.
between you and someone that you look up to or admire is they started before you. You started and made similar choices. You could be anywhere you want to be, doing anything you want to do. So just keep going.
I like that. Yes. Sean?
Yeah, well, I do think, like, just like connecting, like your video last night with your reading, where you started talking about Bertina, where you started talking about what was it, the way in which the issue of wanting something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like the issue of wanting your twin flame, and there's a space between what you said in that video and what April just said a few minutes ago about when you want something so badly, you push it away, you know. Yeah. And I think the difference is the combination of like the desire plus like a sort of like intensity of self-doubt, you know. Because what you're actually doing, what's actually pushing away the thing that you want, isn't the fact that you want it, and it isn't the fact that you are aware that you're wanting it, or isn't the fact that you're feeling the emotions of wanting it. It's the self-doubt, you know, like, because you're putting all that energy into the thing that you're manifesting. So because the self-doubt is there, and you remain emotionally connected to that as a part of yourself, like that self-doubt that goes into the thing that you're trying to manifest, and that's the thing that sabotages it and pushes it away. So I think that the way that you actually manifest something is you do the steps, you do the baby steps joyfully, you know. Like I wrote like a dozen business plans before I wrote a good one, you know what I mean? And it is that like April said, you kind of like at some point you just kind of like you just kind of have to like dive in and do it. But in respect to the twin flame thing, we do have to stop that push-pull aspect, because like what appears to be happening is the divine feminine people are wanting something so badly, but they're wanting it from their ego, and they're putting in a lot of that energy of self-doubt into the manifestation of the twin flame relationship, and of course in that clinging energy and that doubting energy, it's pushing it away. So I mean, the cure to imposter, I go back to the cure to imposter syndrome is really, really integrating your infinite potential and the higher aspect of yourself, and knowing that there is an aspect of yourself that is beyond all limitation, including the limitation of your very body. And so I think if you just sort of like take it back to that higher aspect and just really do that work of like bringing that self in, and for twin flame people that does involve harmonious connection, harmonious energetic and light body connection with your twin flame, because that helps your manifestation as well. But if you focus on that process, and then when it comes to the things that you want to manifest, you just do, and do it in a spirit of joy, like do it in a spirit of fun, like do it in a spirit of openness and learning. And we create our dreams, but you have to accept the fact that your dream creates you back. So like when you're setting out to do something, that you're putting it out to the universe will, there's a call and response. The universe will respond back, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I gotta learn this skill to get here, that kind of thing. And I just found a joy in the process, and that's my strong recommendation. Find your ability to be joyful in the process. Trust that come what may, you're going to be taken care of. And also just know whatever set of labels, whatever job title that you want to attach to yourself, or whatever accomplishment that you want to attach to yourself, all that is just, it's a very, very, it's much, 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 much smaller than what you actually are. So there's actually really nothing in truth nothing that you would want to be doing and want to be manifesting that is not already inside of you. And as advanced souls and divine people and people who are ascending, we've got to cross that bridge of knowing that, So that's kind of like my like bottom line takeaway is that.
So if people want to get some more great, exciting info from you, Sean, what are some things that you're doing right now on your channel? Because we're doing the community tab now, the community post. So what's going on with you? So if some people want to get in touch with you, what is the best thing, and what things are you offering in services at this time? What's going on with you? The 411.
Well, I actually have an announcement to make, so I'm glad that you did the lead in there. I am now officially open for services and officially bookable through my extrophic esoteric website. So I will be doing.
Hey, April, can you put in the thing? Spell it for me. Oh, you got the baby. So I can spell it down here. Go on.
EXTROP. EXTROPIC. ESO.
EXO.
SESO. ESOTERICA.com.
Okay.
I put it in the chat just so.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, you put it in the chat.
I'll put it as the website.
Okay, thanks.
I put it in the website, but you can put it in like the description.
Hey, man.
That's what I'm trying to do right now. That's what I'm trying to do. Hold on.
Hey, man.
I don't want to.
Extrophic esoterica. Yeah, and then yeah, and then it's one word, and then it's urls.com, and no space or no hyphen or anything.
Okay.
So,
but he won't let me do it again. Type at the same damn time.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I'll be doing ascension coaching, and then I've got a service called Coaching with Cards, which is the same type of ascension coaching, but if you want to use tarot and oracle cards in that process, that's what
tired. You want to nap?
And then Um,
Hold on, I got you. I got it. Go on.
and then I've got energy healing services. So I price the Ascension coaching at $45 a session for the rest of 2021 because we're having so much economic turmoil that I wanted something that's very price accessible.
Okay.
But the other services are a little bit pricier. I do have a couple of products on the page as well: a meditation album and a music track, a singing bowl and bhajan meditation track that I did that I recorded myself as an MP3. So that's available. And then yes, I'm doing my Ascension Academy series on the YouTube page and my twinning series, one pertaining to ascension topics and one pertaining to twin flame topics.
Yes,
I'll be
categorizing too.
Yes, and I'll be launching Body Alchemy, which is more my physical health series a little bit earlier than expected because I've been inspired to develop a resource of people, either who did take the thing that people do where they go to centers and get needles to put in their arms, and then people who may be around those people who are like some of them are shedding spike proteins and that kind of thing. And so I'm going to put together some resources of what people can do if they're in that type of situation, or if they're twin flame is in that situation. So
okay.
I'll be launching my Body Alchemy series this week, whereas I was planning to do it later in the summer, but I'm going to be actually working on that this week.
Right.
So I've got those series going on the YouTube page, and then as of now, I fully finished launching that yesterday actually, but this is the first day that I'm announcing that I'm actually available and bookable for services now. So thanks for that.
All right.
Thanks for that lead in.
Yeah.
The plug.
That's the DM in me that like the business wise.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And they know that April and Kathy D know what I say. Okay, the DM is kicking in. Y'all got to do X, Y, and Z. They're like, okay, mom. So yeah. So that, and you also see Sean at the 6/6 event, doubling
Yes.
down on love too as well. So if you like the way he's giving the information and throwing it at you, and you're like, oh yeah, I like the way he speaks. I like everything. He gives me a real eye-opening understanding of how the divine masculine energy or a male is thinking as well. That you'll get to be able to hear him again right there at the Doubling Down event, which will be on 6/6 at 2 p.m. Central Time. It's free. Just come over on Divine Unisoul's channel and you'll be able to get all that. We got a lot of wonderful guests coming on, and we got yoga. So we have a lot of great things going on. April, you're right in time. I snatched you up real quick to tell us about what great things are going on with you.
All right, y'all. So I got
Uh-oh.
that we're on day 10, so you still have the opportunity to get into the 14-day incubator beta program for energy healing. And well, it's like learning how to self-energy heal, learning how to clear chakras, learning how to touch into energy body. It's like a very actually simple process where I'm doing a lot of activations and a lot of awareness and visual meditations to help you understand. I break down the science of the physical body and then how that relates to spirituality and then how to tap into your innate gifts, right? And then there's going to be an amplification ceremony or a amplification series, and it's good stuff, people. So you can find that on my website for 111 right now for a 14-day series. I also answer any questions that you have, and I'm kind of like a little bit on call here, but we can do some spot treatments on what it is that you need help with. I've also got my Yoni steam set up. Right now, I've do both feminine and masculine. So if you want to steam, not necessarily your own yoni, but you could steam your like lower perineum and all of that area and kind of help release trauma, all kinds of really great inner work that you can go into your inner feminine for those of you who are DFs. And for feminine, it really awakens and connects you with the part of your body that it speaks much louder, and it allows you to work so deep on different types of ancestral healings. All these wonderful gates just flood to you. So yeah, those are my main things going on right now. You can still get your the ancestor instant ancestor altar will be set up pretty soon, so you can get a kit there. And then I've got my 999 ritual as well. So yeah, that's my plugs for the day.
Yeah, community. Yes, that's a community plug right there. And so yeah, and so for me, I got definitely. Oh, April, you back? I mean, not April. Cassidy, you back? I'm like, yeah. Okay. Did you save me a fry? Because I seen you stop this and you couldn't. Did you leave the fry on the side? Give me the fries that's in the bag. How about that?
We are sorry. We already ate all those Chick-fil-A waffle fries. They don't make them very long as once they're hot. So
yeah, I'm about to take you out this stream. Let me take you off.
well, I wanted to within the next month or so, there's going to be a complete and total revamp of Pineapple Fish Life Coaching.
Okay.
So for especially for ladies that 40 and up that have looked into the mirror and wondered what happened and where did I go? This is going to be a relaunch and revamp for you all. We're going to be working on self-esteem, working on a little bit of the as I'm backing up, working on a little bit of the imposter syndrome, working on self-love, finding themselves, finding their voice, finding their boundaries, and being able to stand for themselves. But the real point of all of this is to make a positive impact for their daughters. So these generational things are stopped, broken, and these girls are able to go out into the world at any age with the strength and the confidence that they were given. So that's what's going to be going on in the next month.
Just like strength. You could cut it right there. That's what Source said. Strength. Bam. She's out of here. Yes. I love it. I love it. So you would go, is it already up at Pineapple Fish Life Coaching?
Not yet. Pineapple Fish is in the process of doing some revamping, but all of that will be up within the month.
Okay, within the month. Okay, good.
And I'm also using, I'm going to be using mastermind.com. I'm going to be using that platform as well as YouTube and TikTok. So keep your eyes open for me. Never know where I'm going to pop up.
Oh, hell. Yeah, you know what? Hey, because Sean and I both didn't said that YouTube, you're going to have to spread yourself, people. Those of you all that want spirit has told you, I want to do what y'all doing. Spread yourself. I don't give a damn about YouTube. But anyway, spread yourself because you're going to find yourself that you can't have it just on one platform at all too as well. So so that'll be another thing. So that is great. Beautiful.
Oh, and as well as going on live on my group, which is there'll be a page. I've got my page, my business page in Facebook, Pineapple Fish Life Coaching. And so go over there and kind of follow along, and then I will have the different groups set up in there, and I'll be popping on there to do some really quick once a week, some live trainings. Never know when it's going to be, where it's going to be. We'll get it all set up and work from there. I plan to go with the total immersion. You're going to get more than your money's worth on this. I really, this is a service, and I really want to serve those that follow and are in this situation. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got out by, the grace of God and everyone else that helped. And I want to pass that on to other people that might feel like that, feel that they've lost their voice, and to make their daughters stronger.
I love it. I love it. And I'm picking up, and I don't know, April will tell me this is right. It doesn't have to even be like, to me, what I'm picking up, they're saying is generational. It won't even just give you, even you say, I don't have any children, but it will affect the other generations to come. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it can be for women with children, without children, but it's that age that you look in the mirror and you go, who are you?
Okay.
Because the woman that I knew I was going to be at this age in my 20s is not the woman standing in front of me.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And that's where we've got to get to that might not be the woman you envisioned in your 20s, but what does that woman have to offer, and how amazing is she?
Right. Yeah. Goddamn, yeah, we do have that conversation. That's an amen to that. Like, I'm not doing what I said I was gonna do. Let's see. With me right now, my thing is again the podcast. I do weekly things, 2 episodes I upload on the podcast called Divinely Speaking Unplugged. I do that. That one is one of my things advised me is spreading out my brand and getting it out to not just only just twin flames, but educating people about just being divine, period. And using the things that we learned about us on this journey, but spreading it out so that the regular Joe will be able to apply that to their lives. So that's what Spirit had told me, because I had a dream one time. They were saying that you need to take that divine stuff and then just give it to anybody so they can be able to do it in bite size that they can understand, because it's still, I know people are saying, I watched somebody on the video today, there's like, everybody's not going to be divine. They're not going to have twin flames, but I still believe that that's where we all are going to elevate, that eventually we will all be divine. And so they need to know that to get plugged into that information so they can get out the matrix of things. So go to my podcast, Divinely Speaking Unplugged. It's on all other platforms that are streaming any kind of podcast. I'm out there, the Amazon Music, Spotify. I'm missing Spotify, Podbean, and I'm missing somebody else. I can feel. Oh, iHeartRadio, because I know I'm on there. I look at those two. Those two for sure. So make sure you check me out on there. And of course, yes, you can do readings. I'm still doing those things too as well. You could do the Divine Soul, Unisouls 11.co to be able to get that information. Well, I'm way up here at the top. Yeah, because that's at the beginning. You can be able to check me out there too to get readings. And then you can also, again, I got another thing, Ashanti Wellness, if you want your past life regressions as well, sessions, or you want my metaphysical anatomy technique, which helps you to get the trauma that's out of the body and the pain and emotional about things and situations that has happened and occurred, and to be able to heal, help you with the process of healing that too. So you can go to AshantiWellnessCenter.com as well. And don't forget about the Patreon too. I have that, my group, to be able to help you on more intimate settings and do readings and do my classes on there as well. I do upload my courses on there as well from a more intimate setting, because I like that hands-on one-on-one, so I can be able to help you. But most likely, please, above all things, don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe to this channel because we're brand new. So we need, in order for everybody to get this good, juicy stuff, make sure that you do that. You share and let them know about what great things we're doing on here. All right, then. So we're getting on out of here. Thank you. Oh, we went long, but that's all right, because this is our premiere show. All right, then. So you got any, think of your sound off or your ending, your closing? I don't know if you have that, Sean, on your, I think you do.
I think I just came up with one tonight. I think my
okay, all right, well, let's do this then. Hold on a second. I'm gonna leave it at the bottom because they need to click like and share. Anyway,
I think my new closing is.
Yes, on Freaky Friday. I know what Kathy D is at, but okay, go on, April Williams.
Stay blessed, stay golden, and remember, you were made for this golden life.
Yes. What's Kathy D sign up?
Which is my website. Okay, everybody, dump your sand out of your underwear or something like that. Pick up all your toys.
Get out of here.
About a juice box.
Get him, it. Just forget it. Just be quiet. Let the expert take it. Come on.
All right, empty all the sand out of your shoes and socks. Return your pails to the proper owners. Clean up all your virtual trash around the sandbox. And we will see you next time. Wishing you the best life ever. See you real soon.
All right, then. And as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascended. Namaste, Nama go. All right, then. Until next time, thanks for joining us. And we'll be talking to you, see you, and play by real soon. See ya.